I'd like to call this Planning and Zoning Board meeting to order this Thursday, September 23rd, 2021. As you can see, I'm not the chair. I am the Planning and Zoning Board attorney, and the chair and vice chair are absent this evening. Therefore, the first item of business before this board will be the selection of a chair to lead the Planning and Zoning Board this evening. So if I have a motion, you can put a motion on the floor, please.
I'd like to make a motion, Madam Attorney, to nominate Mr. William Wiley tonight for the chair.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. The clerk will have a vote.
Anthony Brown,
Yes.
William Wiley,
Yes.
Frank Fernandez,
Yes.
Moeti Nubi,
Yes.
Margaret Shepard,
Yes.
James Gallen,
Yes.
Russell Barnes,
Yes.
unanimous vote.
Thank you, Board. And you can proceed, Chair Wiley, Acting Chair Wiley.
Good evening, everyone. My name is William Wiley, and we'll start today's meeting. Commencement at 6:30 p.m., September 23rd, 2021. If you wish to speak on any item on this agenda, please complete the public comment card and provide for the Planning and Zoning Board staff. Cards may be submitted prior to the board discussion of any item. Thank you. We have a moment of silence and a pledge of allegiance, and we'll lead that with Moeti Nukumbi. All right, we can start off with a roll call.
Anthony Brown,
Present.
William Wiley,
Present.
Frank Fernandez,
Present.
Margaret Shepard,
Present.
James Gallen,
Present.
Renee Burgess, Evelyn Harris Clark, Moeti Nubi,
Present.
Russell Barnes.
Here.
You have.
All right. Number 3, acknowledgement of board member absence notification.
Mr. Chair, we got notice from both the chair and vice chair that they would be absent today.
Okay. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? All right. Disclosure by board members and adoption of the agenda.
Chair Wiley. Chair, permission to speak.
Yes.
Thank you. The City Attorney's Office did receive a Form 8B disclosure from Mr. Anthony Brown with respect to the items before you this evening, Berkeley, that is associated with Berkeley Landing. Mr. Brown intends to participate in the discussion, but he will be abstaining from the vote.
Okay.
And we will make Form 8B a part of the record at the next regular Planning and Zoning meeting.
Okay, on to number 6, approval minutes.
I move we accept the minutes as read.
Second.
Unfinished business?
Don't we need to?
Board Member Wiley, for the adoption of the minutes, you need to do a vote.
Okay, sorry. Approval for the minutes?
Anthony Brown,
Yes.
Frank Fernandez,
Yes.
Margaret Shepard,
Yes.
James Gallen,
Yes.
William Wiley,
Yes.
Moeti Nubi,
Yes.
Russell Barnes.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Okay, any unfinished business?
Yes, Chair, prior to moving on to the business, I do also want to inform, because we kind of rushed through that on the disclosures, that another board member, Mr. Gallen, also provided a disclosure orally to me this evening, and he will be abstaining from the vote on Berkeley Landings because he knows one of the participants on the development board. However, he will participate in the discussion, and he will properly file his Form 8B for the next regular meeting. The other issue I wanted to address with you is you may address with the board whether you want to extend voting rights to the alternate members this evening.
Yes. So make a motion for voting rights? Yes. So I'd like to make a motion to extend our voting rights to our alternate.
Second.
Which
Anthony
one?
Brown?
Which alternate? Both. Both?
Yes.
Anthony Brown?
Yes.
Frank Fernandez?
Yes.
Margaret Shepherd?
Yes.
James Gallen?
Yes.
Moiti Nubi?
Yes.
Russell Barnes?
Yes.
William Wiley?
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Okay, and on to 8, go and start new business.
Thank you, sir. For the record, Mary Savage Dunham, Assistant Director of Development Services. The first item of new business, we have 3 items that we're going to go into together. They're all part of one application. We have a resolution of the City Council of the City of Rivera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving Platt application PA 2101 from Berkeley Landing LTD to combine 2 contiguous lots of record into one lot totaling approximately 4.01 acres in land area for the real properties located at 3100 and 3124 Broadway Avenue, identified by PCN 5643422842 0000010 and 56434228000002 and providing for an effective date. The second item is ZA 2102. It's an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving the application ZA 2102 from Berkeley Landing LTD, requesting a zoning map amendment from a DR Downtown Residential District designation to a DG Downtown General District designation for approximately 2.23 acres, 97,740 square feet of the property known as 3100 Broadway, identified by PCN 56434228000020 and providing for an effective date. The third item is SP 2104. It's a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving site plan application SP 2104 from Berkeley Landing LTD to construct 2 3-story residential affordable housing apartment buildings, including live-work units with associated parking, landscaping, and amenities on approximately 4 acres of land located at 3100 and 3124 Broadway Avenue, identified by PCNs 5643422842000010 and 56434228000020, having a downtown mixed-use future land use designation and downtown general and downtown residential zoning designations, providing for conditions of approval and providing for an effective date. And so, as we just heard, the applicant is requesting approval of 3 items associated with these parcels in order to construct 2 3-story residential affordable housing apartment buildings, including live-work units with associated parking, landscaping, and amenities at 3100 and 3124 Broadway. And these are the resolutions and ordinances I just read to you. So the project location is North of Blue Heron, this is Broadway, and this is Lakeshore Drive, and it's approximately right there. And a close-up for you again, for orientation. North is up, Broadway, Lakeshore Drive, and this is the parcel here. This is the legal description. I won't read it to you, but I know it was in your material. So these applications were submitted to facilitate the affordable housing project at this location. Per the applicant, the subject property is located within the city's CRA downtown area and has previously been the site for a mobile home park. Based on the mapping imagery, the most northerly of the two subject properties appears to have been a residential apartment complex community that was demolished between 2009 and 2010, leaving the site sitting vacant to date. The most southerly of the two properties was previously used as a mobile home park that was vacated between 2014 and 2015 when the current owner took possession. And to this date, neither of those properties have been redeveloped. This proposed redevelopment consists of two multifamily residential buildings. They're both 3 stories tall. They'll provide live-work units, 2 of them, and 110 rental-based units. The project provides civic open space on both the Broadway frontage and the Lakeshore Drive frontage. The project will provide on-site amenities for the residents, an easement to Palm Tran for a bus shelter, as well as providing the bus shelter structure itself. The site design anticipates development to the north and makes a provision for future changes to the site access to Broadway to ensure safe access and egress for future residents of both this project and the ultimate users of the site to the north. So again, this is the property here, and it shows you the zoning, the different zoning designations. And then again, here's the aerial photo, and it shows you the configuration of the 2 parcels that are being combined. So the proposed use is a permitted use per section 31-536B. The purpose and the intent of the downtown districts is to help guide the redevelopment of the CRA of Rivera Beach and the surrounding properties into a vibrant downtown that provides a variety of housing types to accommodate a diverse population. It establishes a park once environment by providing a mix of uses within a pedestrian-friendly environment. It maintains and enhances a continuous interconnected network of pedestrian and bicycle-friendly streets that effectively links transit stations, bike paths, sidewalks, buildings, open spaces, and the waterfront. Provides public open space in the form of civic parks, plazas, and greens. Maintains and enhances public access to the waterfront. Encourages investment by accommodating new development at a range of scales, including individual infill buildings as well as large redevelopment projects, and maintains and improves real and perceived safety as a key component of walkability and sustainability. This project meets the purpose and intents of the downtown districts. The applicant is providing for a total of 8,603 square feet of civic open space in total, meeting the required 5% based on 172,035 total square feet of site area. The project is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan's future land use designation of downtown mixed use. This project provides affordable housing and live-work units as well as civic open space. Customary services such as water, sewer, roads, and garbage collection are available to the site. The school concurrency materials and final determination are attached within the packet. The applicant has proposed extensive landscaping, and in order to accommodate the 3-bedroom units, the landscape beds between the foundation and parking lot immediately adjacent to those units are slightly narrower, but it's a de minimis reduction, and the landscaping on site well exceeds the requirements of the code. Lighting is proposed as required for the operations of the facility. Parking and traffic. So site access is proposed both via Lakeshore Drive and Broadway Avenue. Palm Beach County issued the Traffic Performance Standards Review Letter for the project. This project is located in the Traffic Concurrency Exception area. We say TCEA. Therefore, it's exempt from the TPS requirements of Palm Beach County. What does this mean? This means that Palm Beach County's comprehensive plan has identified areas within the county where the traffic performance standards are waived because there's a desired intent to encourage increased density in order to sustain public transit and to encourage redevelopment and prosperity in our coastal communities. So that relates to level of service type reviews. This project also was reviewed by Palm Beach County, our engineering department, and staff with regard to roadway adequacy. This project by itself did not trigger any off-site roadway improvements. The project provided 1 parking space per unit and has 46 additional spaces for visitors, as well as 2 spaces for the management office and 8 handicap spaces. So it's our opinion that the parking provided will be sufficient to meet the needs of the development. The parking provided exceeds the code requirements. The CRA has endorsed this project, and there's correspondence from the CRA in your backup material. The CRA is providing a financial contribution to the project, so although it's not their project, they are supportive and participating in it. So this is the site plan. Again, here's Lakeshore Drive, and the civic open space on this side is right in this area. Here's the entry driveway. You'll see there's 1 building here. Here's a pool area, and then this is another building. On this side, this is a civic open space. And then in the middle, there's a tot lot and a dog park, a little pavilion area. These are amenities for the residents as well. And then this is the access and egress, as well as a future design connection. So although this site is being developed now and there's a bunch of vacant properties nearby, we do understand that they will be developed in the future. And to that end, the applicant worked closely with our engineer and Palm Beach County, and in anticipation of the redevelopment of the parcel directly to the north, we asked them to design a future connection. And this is actually on the site plans. It's a design for a possible future shared access and egress to Broadway to ensure optimal safety for both the present and future conditions in the event a signal is required at that location. And our thought is that this site to the north, it's not under development now. We don't know exactly what it's going to be. We anticipate it would probably be some high-density residential, but of course we don't know for sure. Right now, as you know, there's medians out here in Broadway, and in talking with the applicant in Palm Beach County, the thought is that depending on the traffic counts with the future development here, there may need to be a signal located here. And if that happens, we wouldn't want to have egress from this site, from the Berkeley landing site right here, and then have a signalized intersection right here. So after, and the applicant's consultants can elaborate on this. I'm not a traffic engineer. But we did ask them to be prepared for when the site to the north develops. How will your site function with that site and the roadway to make sure it's safe for not just the residents, but also people driving by? They provided the design, it's on the plans, and we appreciate them working with us to kind of look ahead and make sure that their site will work in the future as well as now. So this is a close-up of the civic open space on Broadway. And there's a walking path, there's benches, there's a public sculpture, and this is that potential future connection. This is the civic open space being provided on Lakeshore Drive. The intent is to have a pleasant place for people as they're walking down the sidewalk to sit in the shade, take a rest. And if you can imagine this civic open space then as other properties become developed, then you have this beautiful streetscape of greenery and public space. I will not elaborate on all of these. These are the elevations. This is from Broadway, and this is what you would see on Broadway. And this one I think is interesting. This is inside the site looking towards Broadway. So this is that first building that's shaped like an L. And you can see the parking inside the site. So the buildings are designed on all sides. All the views will be pleasing. These are the north and south elevations, east and west. Again, this is the second building. Again, there's two different buildings. Consistent design. This is the bus shelter that's currently designed to fit in with the architecture of the building. The applicant will be responsible for constructing the bus shelter and maintaining it. This is a proposed pool and amenity area for the residents. And so our recommendation is that the planning board recommend approval of the ordinance of the City Council of City of Rivera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving the application ZA 2102 from Berkeley Landing LTD requesting a zoning map amendment from a DR Downtown Residential District designation to a DG Downtown General District designation for approximately 2.23 acres, 97,740 square feet of the property known as 3100 Broadway, identified by PCN 5643422800002020, and providing for an effective date. We also recommend that the Planning and Zoning Board recommend approval of a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving the Platt application 2101 from Berkeley Landing LTD to combine two contiguous lots of record into one lot, totaling approximately 4.01 acres in land area for the real properties located at 3100 and 3124 Broadway Avenue, identified by PCNs 5643-4228-42-000-0010 and 5643-4228-000020-0020, and providing for effective date. Finally, we recommend that the Planning and Zoning Board recommend approval of a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving site plan application SP 2104 from Berkeley Landing LTD to construct two 3-story residential affordable housing apartment buildings, including live-work units with associated parking, landscaping, and amenities on approximately 4 acres of land located at 3100 and 3124 Broadway Avenue, identified by PCNs 5643-4228-42-000-0010 and 5643-4228-0000-0020, having a downtown mixed-use future land use designation and downtown general and downtown residential zoning designations, and providing for effective date subject to the following conditions. 1, construction must be initiated within 18 months of the effective date of this resolution in accordance with Section 3160B of the City Code of Ordinances. Demolition, site preparation, and/or land clearing shall not be considered construction. Building permit application and associated plans and documents shall be submitted in its entirety and shall not be accepted by city staff in a partial or incomplete manner. 2, a 2-year landscaping performance bond for 110% of the value of landscaping and irrigation shall be required before a certificate of occupancy is issued for this site. 3, the City Council authorizes city staff to approve future amendments to the site plan administratively, so long as the site plan does not deviate greater than 5% from the originally approved site plan. 4, this development must receive final certificate of occupancy from the city for all buildings and/or units approved within 5 years of the approval of the adopting resolution, or the adopting resolution shall be considered null and void, requiring the applicant to resubmit application for site plan approval and reinitiate the site plan approval process. 5, all future advertising must state that the development is located in the City of Riviera Beach. Fees and penalties in accordance with City Code 31-554 will be levied against the property owner and/or business for violation of this condition. 6, once approved, this resolution shall supersede any previous site plan approval resolutions associated with this property, causing previous site plan approval resolutions to be null and void. 7, the concurrently processed ordinance CA 2102 and resolution PA 2101 must be adopted, approved, and become effective prior to the site plan approval becoming effective. 8, the property owner is responsible for the overall maintenance of the civic open space as shown on the Platt PA 2101 for Berkeley Landing, and the civic open space shall be maintained in perpetuity for the use and benefit of the public. 9, within 6 months after the approval of the resolution or prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, whichever is later, the property owner or designate must provide and record a palm Tran bus shelter easement no less than 10 feet by 30 feet in area, subject to the approval of the City of Rivera Beach. The location, sketch, legal description, and dedication documents of this easement, as well as the final design of the bus shelter, shall be approved by the City Public Works Director and Director of Development Services prior to the recordation of the documents. 10, within 6 months after the approval of the resolution or prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, whichever is later, the petitioner shall construct a Palm Tran approved mass transit shelter with appropriate access, lighting, and 2 trash receptacles. The location of the shelter shall be within an approved bus stop, boarding, and a lighting area easement. Any and all costs associated with the construction and perpetual maintenance shall be funded by the petitioner and/or future property owner. 11, the applicant shall install fencing to restrict access behind the southernmost sides of the buildings. And Mr. Chair, that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take questions. We also have the applicant here who could make a presentation if you'd like, and then we can do questions all at once.
Okay. Would we like to do the presentation first, or we have a person for public comment? I guess we'll do that after we do the presentation.
Right, so typically
Yes.
we would do the applicant, staff and the applicant could respond, and then but you can do public comment after the applicant if you like.
Absolutely, yes, we'll do that.
Okay, so you'd like the applicant now?
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Ken Tuma with Urban Design Studio. My address is 610 Clematis Street, West Palm Beach, Florida, 33401. I have a PowerPoint coming up, and when it gets up, I'll give you a quick presentation, but just a little bit of background on how we got here tonight. It's an exciting time in the city of Rivera Beach, and this is a really neat project, and it's really going to be a great corner for this particular piece of property. We have our clients with us this evening, which are Pinnacle Homes and Winover. Both are experienced developers in these mixed income style of communities. But it's important to note on how we got here. The city of Rivera Beach, the CRA, and the city went through a competitive bid process with our client, who's sitting right over there, and awarded $640,000 in a loan to the developer, and then that is then used as a requirement to go to the Florida Housing Corporation to get tax credit financing, which they have since received, and the project has gone through the entire process. So it's a very exciting time and a good award for both the city and also for our client to move forward with this mixed-use project. Now, a little bit more background before we get moving forward. If some of you are going to see what I've already presented before, this, as you know, we were here in August. My partner, Colleen Walter, gave the presentation there. She's not available to be here this evening. But I'm going to move forward with the presentation here. And I'm going to make it very short because, of course, Ms. Savage-Dunham did a wonderful job in her presentation. So the subject site, and on the screen in front of you, is the property as defined. And you can see kind of the design architectural style from that. It's called a modern tropical design, and our architect is in the audience. RLC is here, so they can answer any specific architectural questions that you have. Uh-oh, the big green button, right? That's okay. I can keep going without it. So basically, as Ms. Savage indicated, the location of the property is located. Oops. Try it again.
You just need to press it harder.
Harder? Harder. I'll get that right, Mr. Barnes, I promise. Tell you what, let me grab my cheat sheet and I'll just go from there. That's okay. We don't need pictures. So the developers here, of course, are Pinnacle and Windover. Both of them are very experienced in this form of development. They've developed over 10,000 apartments that are that are income restricted and market rate. We have a large team assembled that are members. Oops. There we go. Thank you. Okay, so the site's on the screen in front of you. It appears that it's not going to click forward at my request. So oops. Thank you. I swear I'm not doing anything. I think I'm going to give up. So again, good evening again. Oh, okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and click through a couple slides. Thank you. So this is Pinnacle, and Mr. Deutsch is here, and he can represent what Pinnacle has done over the years, but they have done a significant amount of these types of communities throughout the state of Florida, and also have operated about 10,000 multifamily units. And then Windover, Mr. Kroll is here with Windover. Windover is their partners in this deal, and they also specialize in affordable housing projects. And this is a mixed income affordable housing project. You go to the next slide, please. These are just some communities that they have done and some pictures of communities that they have done, and you can click to the next slide. So our team, we have a large team assembled, have worked on this project for many, many months. In the audience, we have Mr. Crowley with the law firm of Gunster. We have Mr. Stevenson here with the construction team, and we also have other members of our team here, including our civil engineer, transportation engineer, and architect. Click, please. Thank you. This is a subject site. As indicated, it's 4.01 acres. Immediately to the east is Lake Harbor Cove. To the north is the old AT&T building. To the south is the mixed residential, and to the west is Ocean Tide. That site, as indicated, was historically a mobile home site and an apartment complex. So the request is to rezone the property. It consists of 2 zoning districts today, and our request is to convert it into 1 zoning district and make the entire site downtown general. And I think we got this down, so I raise this and you click, we're good. All right, so we're also proposing a plat on the site. The plat is a subject 4.01 acres. And then this is the actual design itself, and I'm gonna spend a few minutes walking through this. This is a major site plan approval request. There are 10 rental units and 2 live-work units. The rental units are the mixed income, which are affordable income from both 30%, 60%, and 80% of the average median income. And then the 2 live-work are market, meaning they're regular rental, but they're for live-work, meaning someone could have their office or they could have a small business and still live in there. This is a proposed site plan. You can see on the screen the proposed mix of bedrooms and sizes going from 26 1-bedroom units, 61 2-bedroom units, and 23 3-bedroom units. And on the screen itself, on the screen you can see the design that Mr. Durham walked through. This area is going to be a dog park. There's a pool, cabana pool area. There's a civic open spaces, and then there are a large dog area here. Thank you. And I'm going to skip through this slide, except to note that we are also, besides what Mr. Durham presented, we are dedicating land to the Department of Transportation for future right-of-way along the west side. It's a requirement. And potentially in the future, that could be on-street parking, but that really depends to the Department of Transportation. And then on the right-hand side of the screen is what's been indicated as a future potential access. In the future, potentially we could have access to the north, and then it would be only a right turn movement into the site. The landscaping, there is a significant amount of landscaping along the project and the project buffers. On the north side, there's a mix of oaks and oak leaves, hollies, magnolias, green buttonwoods, and crepe myrtles. And on the south side, a very similar mix of planting material. There's also a 6-foot-high aluminum black fence along the southern property line and along the northern property line to create that separation. This is a blow-up of the civic site. As you saw a little earlier, you can see the artwork, the benches, the Sylvester palms within the planting grates in the hardscape area. The way your code works, we're required to provide 5% of the entire land area into civic open space, and we're meeting that criteria. This is the bus shelter that you saw before, and then also you identified in the conditions of approval of the required Palm Tran easement. Bus Route 62, as you know, runs up and down Broadway Avenue, so that would be the appropriate bus route here. And then this is the other civic area on the east side of the property. This is a little bit smaller. It's 3,574 square feet, but again, that same design to allow for artwork, public spaces. And this is open to all the public, this area, and that's part of your code, and we've designed that within it. The community amenities, as identified a little bit earlier, there'll be a dog walk, there'll be pavilions, outdoor barbecue, tot lot, multi-purpose rooms, community meetings, a library, a cyber lounge. There'll also be spots for Ubers to come and pick people up and drop them off. Here are some other slides of what those amenities look like at a little different view than what you saw before. The resort-style pool, the management office, mail pickup, maintenance facilities, secured indoor parking space. We don't see that very often in these type of facilities, and I think that's a wonderful addition. A fully equipped fitness center, and then most importantly, there'll be controlled access to the buildings, and there'll also be electronically web-enabled surveillance. Just some looks of what the interior of these units. When you hear affordable housing, you think of lower grade interiors. Our clients do not do that. These are high grade interiors. In fact, it'll be a green certified building. The next thing, it will have impact windows and doors. It'll have durable hard surfaces, countertops and floors, meaning that it'll be made out of out of tile and other items and not just carpet in those areas. All the appliances will be energy rated. There'll be blinds and shades throughout the community as part of the lease. There'll be island kitchens, washer dryer hookups. So it's a very nice community. They build it to market level characteristics for this type of construction. Now, a little bit about the affordability tier, because it's always a little bit confusing. So Berkeley Landing is a mixed income and a mixed use community with living options ranging from very affordable to market rate. Very affordable starts in the 30% of the average minimum income, which means rents will range from $402 to $538, depending on the size of the unit. The next set is a 74 units, will be at 60% of the average area-wide income, which means rent will be at $884 to $1,206 per unit. Again, 1 bedroom being the low end, 3 bedroom being the high. And then 19 units will be at 80% of the average area income, which means the rent will be from $1,200 to $1,652. So a significant spread. And the whole concept of these type of developments is let's have everyone live together. People who are in the 30% average income, the people who are in the 60% average income, and the people who are in the 80% average income to create a full community. Also, the 2 live-work units, which are along Broadway, they'll have the characteristics of being a live-work unit. They'll have storefront glass along the entry points, so it'll look really nice and look like you're coming into a live-work unit. Those will be market rate. So you have every section of the population handled here from 30% all the way to market rate. So Berkeley Landing and our clients stressed this with me early on from day one, it's more than a place to live. It's a place to learn, a place to be educated. Here are some of the programs that they run. The adult financial literacy, budget counseling, employment and assistance and referrals, parenting skills, I wish I would have got that about 20 years ago, health and nutrition classes, life skill courses, tutoring assistance, computer lab, and work skills. So they take their responsibility, and Windover is the operating entity, I believe, of this site, takes this responsibility very seriously, and they can articulate anything that you need to know about those programs. So as I started the conversation this evening, I said the CRA was in support of it. On the screen in front of you is a letter from Mr. Evans, noting that CRA that the Berkeley Landing is consistent with the goals and objectives of the adopted Riviera Beach Community Redevelopment Plan, and then the agency has approved a contribution of $640,000 as local area contribution, a local match to support the application for the low-income housing. So again, Riviera Beach provides a certain amount of money. Then you get the opportunity to go to the Florida Housing Corporation to request these tax credits, and that's how you get these mixed-use projects, these mixed-income projects. Have our whole team assembled. I would request the opportunity to come back and rebut after public comment, and happy to answer any questions you may have. We have our whole, from architects to engineers to attorneys, we got everybody here tonight, and contractors, of course. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your presentation.
Yes,
Very good presentation. Thank you for your interest in the city of Rivera Beach. We have public comment.
May I ask one question, Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you please have your team stand up and kind of tell us each one before we start into
Sure.
public? I would just like the key players.
All right, so I'm going to try my best to get names right, too. I might mess some
That's
people's
okay.
names, all right.
It's okay.
So first, from Pinnacle Housing, we have David Deutsch from Pinnacle Housing. Mr. Wheat was here last time. For those who remember, Mr. Wheat unfortunately was not able to be here this evening, but he is Mr. Deutsch's partner. We have Kevin Kroll with Wendover. Kevin, please introduce yourself. Kevin is the representative of Wendover, who is a significant affordable housing developer through the southeast United States. I think you have another gentleman with you tonight from Wendover, or? Nate Cummings with Pinnacle. Nate Cummings is with Pinnacle. It's hard to see behind the mask. We have our architect, is Lucille here? Nope. Oh, our architect's not here, so I'll play architect tonight. We have our civil engineer, Mr. Rogers. Our transportation engineer, Pramod. How'd I do? Okay. We have our attorney, Mr. Crowley from Gunster. Mr. Stevens. For our contractor. Am I missing anyone, gentlemen? Mr. Sanchez? And Mr. Sanchez, of course. I'm sorry, I skipped right over Joe. I think I've got everybody. So that's our team, and we're all here happy to answer any questions you may have, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
Chair.
Yeah, no problem. Does anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, I got
Yes, sir.
We're
questions.
gonna
One
do
more, sir.
public comments, or we're gonna do questions?
You want to do questions?
We do public comments unless you have another question for him.
Well, I got questions.
I got questions for him.
Yeah, you do public comments.
Okay.
Public comments, Mr. Ed Glatzmeyer. I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. I've got to look at my notes as we go through. I thought it was a very good presentation. The basic is, if you build it, they will come. And I moved to Riviera Beach because of the dream that I saw on Blue Heron, saying they were going to redevelop. And they were going to think better, think bigger, to attract better businesses, stronger businesses. This plan, it's good, but I don't think it challenges Riviera Beach to think better and bigger. We have low-income housing all over the place, and there's always a need for it to be. But in this particular area, I don't think it's going to help our existing businesses grow and go to the next level. I think it's going to maintain our status quo of limping along. I know Riviera Beach wants a tax base. They want to grow it. That makes sense. But think bigger, think better. These developers and people here, they meet the criteria of what minimum is. I think we need to do better. We need to attract better citizens, people that want to aspire to be better citizens with their income and with their careers. The quality of life for the existing residents of Riviera Beach right now will definitely be affected by this. And everybody says, oh, it'll be better. What about 5 years after it's built? Affordable housing has a record that says it is not successful long-term. And I think we need to challenge ourselves to be better at bringing in a community or a building that reinforces that Riviera Beach wants to improve itself. I don't think we go higher enough here. I think we can push for more. We know the housing market right now is strong. It doesn't have to be at the very top. We've got those condos along the area. I live in one of those condos. But we've got to have housing that complements the area, and it has to economically support what we're trying to do in Riviera Beach by bringing better businesses here too. Excuse me one second. We all see everything that you build anyway is always going to bring more traffic. I don't agree with the Broadway new piece coming in for traffic. I think it's going to cause problems. I don't think it's well thought out. I think it's the only option that they have right now, but I think we need to go back and push back and tell them to do better. You have the noise level. I live on Lake Shore, right behind where this is being proposed to do. And I know that Riviera Beach through Blue Heron, it's not that attractive. It has low-income housing, and there are people struggling, and housing just isn't what it is as you get closer to Singer Island. I think it's an opportunity for Riviera Beach, this committee right here, to push back and say we want something better. We've got enough lower-income housing and poor economically struggling areas. Let's get something that's going to increase the tax base and improve the area where we're at. Lake Shore is probably the one thin line that has nice condominiums. We can push that out even further and go up to the edge of Broadway.
I appreciate it, sir. 3 minutes is up, but I appreciate it.
Thank you for the
sir.
opportunity.
Thank you, sir. All right, board, we have any questions? I'm gonna start on far side.
Couple questions. One, can we get the presentation back up that had your site plan on it, please? As I was looking at the site plan, I know that you've been working with staff as it relates to access off of Broadway. And I'm trying to wrap my head around what the commitment is from you all to work with your adjacent neighbor to be determined, because we don't know who that's going to be. As I look at your site plan, it seems that this proposed access between the two sites is very close to Broadway.
Yeah, let me get to the site plan, Mr. Barnes, and I understand your question, sir, and I didn't spend a lot of time going through that. Let me get to the next.
There we go.
That one's a good one to start at. Yes, sir.
Yes, and so and again, so the little, as things progress, are you all going to be, one, willing to relocate that further to the east, depending upon what the site plan is to the north? And then I see this future potential maybe kind of right-in only onto the site. Are you all really going to be willing to go to a right-in only into the site?
Mr. Barnes, the city engineer was pretty direct with us on this, and I actually think he's 100% right. So let me explain what that intersection is for everybody else in your room, sir. Mr. Barnes, so what's being proposed today as you come in, use the clicker, is that you would be able to do a right turn into the project, and then when you leave the community, you'll be able to take a left or a right today. That's what the proposal is. But staff, recognizing that there's going to be future development on this site here, has said, we believe that you should provide an additional access point, or provide an access point, and that when this site develops, we will make it a part of their regulation that your traffic will be required to go through there to take a left turn out. So it would only be, you'd only be able to ingress the property, and if I can get to that next slide, or a couple slides, yep, that one.
Down at the
Yep,
bottom
there,
right.
bottom right corner. So you could see it becomes a right in only in the future, and then it also, then you go to the project to the north and then take that left turn movement or right turn movement out of it. We are building it today, so it will be constructed. So in the future, when the project comes to the north, that will be a defined location.
Okay, that, I also noticed that's not a condition of approval. Which one?
Because, I'm sorry, so it's not it's not a written condition, but it has, I can let Ms. Savage define it, but it's on the plan sets. Understand. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Barnes, that's it, Ms. Barnes?
No, I'd like to hear, are we going to make, is this actually going to be an official condition of approval, or is it going to be something that's handled at a, in the future?
That's an excellent question, sir. So we did not place it as a condition of approval because it's actually inset on the site plan, which we're approving the site plan. So those are our record documents, and it's shown, and we were pretty direct about that we wanted it shown on the site plan so that it was clear. And we do think that it's important the applicant did concede to this design because ultimately we do think there will be a signal there, and we didn't want to have two access and egresses proximate to each other. We didn't want people trying to take a left and come across, 2 lanes of traffic to get in there. So we feel that ultimately a shared access is appropriate. It's probably going to be signalized. And given that they were at the table now and not the person to the north, we look to them to work with us for a solution, a design solution. We didn't say they had to build it now. We just said, design it, please, and put it on your site plan so that if and when it's required, we've already figured it out. And so they did that. It's not a condition. If you would feel more comfortable, we can certainly add, I can draft language, and we can add another condition about it to the resolution before we're done tonight, if you'd like.
I think it's a pretty important component of the way the site's going to work in the future. I'd like to see it written into the conditions. The other question I had was on the site plan, Mr. Tuma, on the east side of the site, I guess it was the civic space.
Back in control. Go ahead.
There you go, down on the bottom right. Are we considering just the hardscape, the civic space there, or is the lawn area also considered the civic space there?
So the area in green on the screen is not the civic site, it's
Okay.
the hardscape area, and the hardscape area here, and this area right here is
That's the civic space.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that answered it. Thank you very much. And then
Yes, sir, thank you.
the last question, not for you, but for staff.
Yes, sir.
We've got a lot of conditions that are identified on here, and I've started some general conversations with you on this. Who and how do we enforce the deadlines that have been identified here? They've got 18 months to do something and get started, and then they've got a certain amount of time to get the project built. There's a lot of deadlines within the conditions that we've identified. How do we enforce those conditions and deadlines?
That's an excellent question. Well, there's how do we do it now and how will we do it shortly? And the now part of it is that when a project, any project comes in for site plan approval, if the city council approves it, we have a resolution and ordinances. Once those are stamped and the plans are stamped, we give them back to the applicant. Typically, at that point, the applicant will come in for their building permit. And with their building permit submittal, we look for a copy of the resolution and/or approved stamped plans with that. Building permits come in and they're reviewed by all appropriate divisions, one of which is my division, zoning, but then also engineering, all the mechanical and building trades, police and fire. So we all see them, you know, the plans again, we would see them likely very shortly. And before I would sign off on a building permit, I have the resolution in front of me. A building permit can't advance without every division signing off on it. So if there's a before building permit condition,
Okay.
I have that resolution there, and at that point, it's an attention getter. No, I won't sign off until you do it. During the course of construction, depending on how big the project is, staff is out there doing periodic inspections. So we have the luxury, it's a double-edged sword. We don't have a great big staff, so it's possible that the people that have reviewed the plans and have been here in front of you presenting them are also the ones doing the inspections. So we do the inspections, and when projects get closer to completion, we typically talk internally, and again, we'll look at the resolutions. For these larger projects, we have weekly meetings of the management team, and we'll talk about, you know, gosh, that project, you know, we need to start talking about the finals, those types of things. So not all projects are handled exactly the same. Obviously, a 700-unit apartment complex is a little different than a 7-Eleven, but it's pretty hands-on. Within very short order, we're actually switching to an electronic permitting system called Energov, and for better or for worse, we're going to be doing everything online, and that will just make it easier for us instead of having the paper permits that we circulate. When the project comes in, the applicant will upload the stamp plans and the resolution into the computer there. So there is a human aspect to it, but we'll also have the benefit of, you know, telling the computer to say, okay, it's 2022, the project's good for 5 years. Okay, in 4 years, send an email to staff, you're at the 4-year point, reach out to the customer. And so we're hoping that some of those efficiencies within the technology will be beneficial. But in short, that's how right now it's done by staff technically.
Thank you. And again, we just want to make sure that as you all get the approvals to move forward, that you're good neighbors, because part of being a good neighbor is getting these projects built so you don't have a lot of dirt and debris and dust flying all over the folks who are your next door neighbors here, who are going to be withstanding a whole lot of, let's say, disruptions during the construction of this project. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moity?
Yes, so I have a concern about the parking. Is there going to be any allotment for electric car charging?
We do not have any electric car charging on this one, sir. We do not. The parking ratio is basically 1.5 per unit, though, sir.
Okay, I just think that, the amount of parking spots, nowadays there's usually about five lots for like electric cars, and also I think it would kind of, because I don't know if somebody has an electric car, how are they going to charge their car? But you have to just do it off-site. I would think that they would want something.
So typically, and I can defer to our client here, but what we see in these communities, we do not see electric chargers as part of this type of mixed income. Typically, we do not see the use of electric chargers. And I can defer to Mr. Deutsch, who knows more about it than I do in regards to how the operation goes. Sure. Or Mr. Kroll in this case.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't mind to give you my shoulder, sir, just because I'm always looking at it.
Kevin Kroll with Wendover Housing. It's really market driven. We are actually starting to do it on a few communities. And so it's not something that's usually part of the site plan though, but it certainly is something that is becoming more common. And that being said, it's entirely possible that there will be a few here that are on site by the time we CO the property. But it's all market driven. But it's usually not part, it is something demand driven, and it is something that is easily, modified and built in as we go along, so.
Okay. Oh, I'll just like to make a note of that. I would definitely like to see that as part of the site plan, because I think it would attract the right, it will send the right message. So I think it's something that we should really consider in the site plan.
Sure, I'll tell our designers to take a look at it. I know one thing we're doing is making sure that we have the conduit there anyways. So like I said, it's easy to then make sure that the infrastructure can easily be installed whenever the demand is there for it. So I'll definitely have our design team look at it and work with staff on that.
Okay. So my second question was about the live work housing. Will there be like a grocery store on site or something like that, or how would that work?
No, sir. So they would typically be a small business. For example, the unit size of those are actually fairly small. Go back to my page so I give you the exact numbers. One is a studio apartment or a studio live work, and it is 1,414 feet. So it's a fairly small, the studio. It's really intended to be a place for an artist, an accountant, a professional service person who has a small office and a small business to allow them to have customers potentially come in. For example, my brother-in-law does tax accounting, and he lives in one of these style of units in Abacoa, and basically he has his people come into his office, but he lives in the same space. The other one is a one-bedroom unit, and it's 1,964 square feet. So they're intended more for the smaller use, but not a grocery store at all.
Okay. All right, that's all my questions.
Thank you, sir.
Right. Yes, sir.
Frank Fernandez, I have a few questions.
Yes, Mr.
First of all, Mary, on Mr. Barnes' condition for this project, do you think we'll have an issue of the way you're going to word it, based on what the engineer and the attorneys were discussing? Make sure they're all on the same page?
Well, I have some suggested language that I could share with you, and we can ask them if they agree, but I think it's board's discretion to a certain degree.
Well, I just want to make sure we're in agreement here before we vote on something, now that we go back and forth and back and forth.
So that's a wonderful point. How does this sound? And we can certainly edit it. The applicant shall reconfigure the access driveway from Broadway to conform with the future shared access design when the construction on the parcel to the north begins.
They shall do what? Again, it's the second word.
Shall reconfigure. The applicant shall reconfigure the access driveway from Broadway to conform with the future shared access design when. We could say when the parcel to the north is developed. We could say when Palm Beach County or when the city deems appropriate.
I like the way you've got it, if that's acceptable to the applicant, or even if you wanted to soften it up a little bit and say would work with city staff to reconfigure in general accordance with what it is, just to give you a little bit of flexibility with the ultimate design there. I just want to make sure they do something.
City staff already signed off on this design, so and the applicant has agreed to the design. So I duly noted, will conform with the future shared access design when the city and Palm Beach County traffic deem appropriate. And/or, I like that, thank you. Of course.
Good evening. My name is Jamie Crowley from the Gunster Law Firm. One thing we have to keep in mind is that we don't control this parcel to the north, so we're happy to work with you guys. We've made a point to do that all along, and DOT has reviewed this, so we think it's a good idea, but we can't reconfigure our access until we have someone who's willing to play ball on the parcel next to us. True. So once they have agreed and they have been issued permits to reconfigure their property so that our residents can use it, I think that's an appropriate time for us to reconfigure that. but we want to make sure our residents have the same quality of life, you know, and the ability to access their property. So I would like to see it conditioned upon the time when you know, it's built out.
In coordination with your adjacent property to
For our
the north
northern
or
neighbor.
something.
And Mr. Bailey has insisted that he's going to hold their feet to the fire and that they will in fact do that, and I believe him, having dealt with him. So I just wanted to get that on the record that we are going to need the cooperation of the neighbor to the north. Thank you.
Would you like me to read this one more time, since we're
Yes, ma'am.
making sausage? The applicant shall reconfigure the access driveway from Broadway to conform with the future shared access design when the city and/or Palm Beach County traffic deem appropriate, in coordination with the development of the parcel to the north. We certainly don't anticipate it being necessary until the parcel to the north gets developed, and at that point, we'll all be at the table having a conversation about, is there a signal? What will the traffic movements be? Will the medians change? At least that's our expectation.
That's
It might be when they issue a CO for the building, or when the building is ready to be occupied. I don't know when county staff is going to deem it's appropriate. So I would suggest that it might be more appropriate to condition this when they receive their permits, and so that we're not driving through a construction site either, for safety purposes. So maybe, and again, on the record, we will work with them, but we want to make sure that their site is ready to have our people driving through it. You don't want our people driving through a construction site, nor do we.
Chris Rogers with Keith. The way we designed it, actually, it doesn't need to be reconfigured, because if you look closely, that there's asphalt that's being removed only. So that's why it's going to be striped temporarily going north. So the right in stays, the left out becomes grass. So nothing's getting reconfigured. We're just taking it away. That way we don't lose access to the site. So it was really thought out. We went through it with engineering and worked it out so that you wouldn't have to reconfigure. You would just have to remove a portion and replace it with landscape, keeping access to our site during.
But are they going to have to issue us a cross-access?
It's a cross-access. That's what it really is. Right. It's not a combined entrance. It's cross-access. So we have to use their site however they design it from that point on.
And that's kind of the point, is they're going to have to agree to a cross-access easement so we can drive through their property, because we don't have the right to just drive through their property unless and until they grant a cross-access easement, which again, the city's going to require as a condition of their approval.
Exactly.
Right, exactly.
Bottom line is we're going to work with your staff to get language that's appropriate to have the cross-access based on the language that you have tonight before we get to the city commission.
Good. I got a couple more questions for you.
Go ahead, sir. I like questions.
I got plenty of questions here for you. Going back to your plan here.
Okay, let me go see how I do here. Oh, it's working.
Okay, you can leave that one up.
Yes, sir.
Lighting
Lighting.
and security cameras.
Sure. First.
Where are they going to be located, and who will monitor them?
Okay, so I'm gonna ask our client to come up and talk about security cameras, but I'm gonna address it quickly for you, sir.
Okay.
So first thing, we'll have web-enabled security cameras at the entrance points. They'll also be at the pool area and the civic site. So all the key public places will have web-enabled secure or surveillance cameras, the proper terminology.
Great. So you're going to have all the areas required, all the public areas where you park, well lit.
Yeah, yes. So
And now when you mention web-enabled, I understand web-enabled. But on the other hand, you have to have a human monitoring it. Who is going to be that human?
I'm going to defer that to Mr. Deutsch on this
And
one.
will it be 24/7?
And then I want to address your lighting, though. We have met all the photometric requirements that are part and parcel with the subject site, sir.
Okay, thank you.
David Deutsch with Pinnacle. So we have many of these security features in our developments, and it will not be manned 24/7. We will have digital video recorders that will have that will tape and have access to those recordings for a fixed period of time, usually typically 30 days. And those cameras will be state-of-the-art cameras and high-quality resolution, and that will be placed throughout the community, both inside some of our amenity spaces and areas as well as on the outside, and give us good coverage of the entire property.
Right, I understand that, but if somebody's making a call, there's a robbery, there's a mugging in the parking lot, a carjacking in the parking lot, and they call it in, will Riviera Beach Police be given immediate access to those cameras?
If it's 1 in the morning and these cameras are inside our clubhouse, which is where the DVRs are typically stored, and it's an emergency and we get a call and our manager will come if it's an emergency. If it can wait until the morning, of course, we'll wait until the morning. If it's a dire emergency, we always say call 911. But it's a normal process for how we will govern the community and provide access to that video footage.
Right, but will police have instant access to that video, not wait till the following morning?
Only if we provide it to them, and we will do our very best to do so, but the cameras will be tied into, now we can try and provide access to, some police departments do have that kind of technology. I don't know if the city of Riviera Beach can tap into our feed. I don't think we haven't done that before, but certainly at at many of our communities, we have used this type of system and it has proven to be very effective.
Okay, then of the 5 individuals that are going to be, positions that are going to be created there, what are those 5 positions?
So you're going to have a manager who's going to run the community. You're going to have a maintenance supervisor who is going to oversee all of the maintenance. You're going to have a leasing agent. You're going to have an assistant maintenance technician, and you will have a porter. So each of those roles is separate and distinct, and they'll all report to our property manager.
And the maintenance will be handled on site, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, let's go to the, I read over the Pinnacle and the Wendover proposals. You, in the proposal, it states they'll generate at least 40 jobs for Riviera Beach residents and a couple of apprenticeships. Is that correct?
During construction.
During
Yes, sir.
construction, that is
Yes,
correct.
Sir.
Okay.
Those are our goals, of course. And we have done this, again, many times before. We have job fairs. We have the experience to reach out into the community, and we are going to do that. And in fact, I think we have a job fair here, Joe, in October 5th.
Is that in coordination with Riviera Beach, Mary, Ms. Dunham? Are they coordinating these job fairs with Riviera Beach?
If I may, we have a series of slides to show you. I'm going to ask Mr. Sanchez to come up, who's with our contractor, and he'll explain the whole program, if that's okay with you, sir.
And here's a question, maybe for our attorney. When these developers come in here and request and say that they're going to offer so many jobs, can we have a conditional approval to add 40 jobs, obviously if they can't fill it here? For instance, the approval for the plan contingent upon hiring, if they say they can fill 40 jobs during construction and apprenticeships, can we include that as conditional language?
Respectfully, no.
No.
But we can make certain conditions that encourage them to want to hire within the city and support those initiatives.
Okay, I would love to see those encouragements added
They
for
are
this
added.
development, and they are? Okay.
They are.
Mr. Chair, may I interject?
Yes, ma'am.
If we really think about it, I think with CRA, but anyway, our chairwoman wanted to make those conditions unconditionally. And I think the attorney, I hope I'm saying it right, made it very clear that we cannot force them to fill those jobs. We gracefully ask them, and I think that's only important that we ask them to bring those jobs, but to kind of stronghold them into saying you must hire. I think the only developer that came here that had a program like that was Viking, the master developer. Now, I did go out to the site and I seen a lot of our residents out there. And I think they fulfill their duty to hire some of our people. So with Berkeley Landing, I would hope that they understand Rivera Beach people need jobs, so we can only ask them. And so I think we need to go that route and not try to force them or pin it to paper for the jobs. We can ask. We always ask. Always ask. Do they do it? I don't know.
Well, we can encourage them. I'm not saying forcefully. We can't force anybody to do anything. But I'm just saying, highly encouraged.
We've always done that.
Okay.
I've been here a little over 40 years, and if I remember well, they've always asked that the applicant supply us with jobs for the city. But Ms. Lanier went on, and I think she kept saying she wanted them to have the jobs. And our chairwoman say, very gracefully, we can ask, but I don't think we can force. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Can I jump in on that?
One last
Okay.
two last questions, and then I promise you I'll be off. On these plans you had up here to teach these courses on computers and everything, are you going to charge the residents for those services, or is it going to be free of charge?
No, those are all free of charge to all residents.
Okay, so then,
Mr. Kroll indicated that it'd be free of charge just for the young lady over here.
okay, and are you going to wire these units for, I'm assuming, I'm hoping you are, for hardwiring the units for computers and PCs, Wi-Fi and all that?
Yeah, the units are all pre-wired for Wi-Fi throughout. We have free Wi-Fi in the common areas, and then residents are responsible for their own utilities, which includes cable, Wi-Fi, and so forth. But we don't pre-wire for security or in the units or anything like that. That's as per general housing practices. You don't do that.
Okay, one last question, I promise. The tax base I keep hearing here mentioned, the tax base is going to generate a tax base. What is the anticipated tax base on your project? Do you have an idea?
We do. I don't have that number in front of us, but it was part of the. And I will back to the as has been mentioned a couple of times. Obviously, the city has a financial participation with us in that, and that was not out of financial want. It was simply a requirement in order to be able to be competitive for the financing from the state agency. It's what we have, what we proffered and have agreed to with the city is as an expedited payback schedule for that investment that the city has made at the $640,000. I think that's a nice yield when you look at it for the city, especially when you factor in the economic development that comes along with it. And so the property will be taxed as per by the county property tax assessor. It will add to the ad valorem tax base. That is why the CRA invested in this, because it is going to increase the CRA's ad valorem. And that exact number, I don't have it on me right now. But
you have a rough idea?
It was roughly it was something about $1,200 a unit a year, something like that, I think is what we were projecting. And right now, the property taxes are about $20,000 a year total on the site.
Right.
So it's a sizable increase to what there is currently, obviously.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for your input.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Shepherd?
Just a couple questions. Sir, did you want to say something? You're standing.
I'm here to respond to you, so if you don't need me to present, I don't need
No, I want to hear the response. You're standing there.
Okay. So I was asked about the MWBE participation and local workforce participation, so I have a couple of slides on that if you want me to go through it. Okay. So at D. Stevenson, we created our in-house program called SHARE, and SHARE is an acronym, stands for Seek, Help, Access, Report, and Evaluate. And what we're talking about is two different programs here. We're talking about a MWBE local business participation program, and we're also talking about a local workforce program. So those are two separate activities, two separate things, and we have two separate focuses on those. So in the first stage in seeking, we seek out different companies who are local through outreach workshops, and we have our first one coming up on October the 5th. We go through different databases, the resource to find out who's certified. We go through the counties, the cities, database of local contractors as well. We reach out to the school district, the county, the Black Chamber, which we're members of, Paragon, different organizations. And for the workforce in Orange, we go through radio advertisements, we do the job fairs, and we'll have a job fair when we're close to starting construction. We're projecting to start construction in April of 2022, so the job fair won't take place until around March at that time. We don't want to get people excited about jobs now and then have them wait for months and months and months, because we're looking for other things between now and then anyway. In the second phase, we help contractors with the pre-qualification process and getting certified if they need to get certified, when they need technical assistance. And for the workers, we do career readiness with them, make sure that they're prepared. We want to make sure people have OSHA, which is the safety training that they need, so they can come to the job site prepared. During the third phase is access for contractors. We work for, make sure that they're ready to bid on the project, make sure that they have access to the estimating team, our pre-construction team, so that we connect them with the right people. If bonding is going to be required, and actually we're looking at possibly not even having a bonding requirement on this project. We'll be talking about that on the 5th. For the workers, we make sure they have access to job coaches and again, prepare them and make sure they have their referrals and make sure that we connect them with the necessary subcontractors to align with their skills. We report, this is something that's key to usually our clients, is on a routine basis, we provide reports to our clients to make sure that they know what we're doing and we're demonstrating that we're meeting our commitments, both for workers as well as for the contractors. And then we evaluate in the last phase. And that phase, we make sure that we're doing exactly what we said we're doing. We're doing an internal evaluation. We'll meet with the clients as well to make sure that if there's any need for improving the process. So that's our share process. We also lay out a timeline for our plan to identify when we're going to be doing each one of these activities, what months we're going to be doing them. We have different activities that we do, like talking about the outreach activities, the technical assistance that we do with them, the bid evaluations and making sure we're speaking with them and telling them how they did on their bid, where they went wrong, where they can improve. All that kind of things is trying to help them if they be successful in our project, and if not successful on not winning our project, be successful in their next opportunity. This is a strategy that we come up with. We look at how the project is broken down to the different trades. So on the left-hand side, you see roofing, HVAC, electrical, doors, stucco. So we have a commitment of 25% goal for minority participation on this project, a minimum of local MWB of 25%. We hope to far exceed that if possible. And we identify who the contractors are that meet these criteria, and then look to see if they're pre-qualified with us, if they are in fact minority businesses. And then that's how we focus our attention on reaching out to them to make sure that we meet our goal in our project. So we're participating, both D. Stevenson and our team members. We also have the Black Chamber of Commerce, like I said, we're members of. They're going to be helping us out with the local MW participation and local workforce, doing the things that you see on the board. They'll be here with us on October the 5th, bringing in their members and additional members as well to make sure that they have an opportunity to participate in the project. We'll also engage Career Source, and I understand the city has a workforce program as well. We'll make sure we'll engage the city's workforce program to connect local people with the subcontractors. So D. Stevenson's going to be doing these services, both on the MWB participation. We're going to attend the events, prepare the strategy, pre-qualify the bidders, and for the workforce, we're going to be at the events as well and connecting the subcontractors with the applicants. So that's our plan to make sure we're successful. These Stevenson, our projects, we've been around now for almost 30 years. We typically average about 40% minority participation in our projects, so this is something we do on a regular basis.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. Just a couple of questions. Parking. I think I heard you say it's going to be one space per apartment?
So the code requirement is one spot per unit. We're providing 46 additional parking spots, which means that we have 1.5 parking spots per unit. So we're above the code by 46 spots.
You're handicapped. I didn't hear you mention anything about.
We do. We have, I believe it's 8 handicap spots, but I might be off a little, but we definitely have handicap spots.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. Someone mentioned about the washer and dryer in the apartments. Is that included in the rent?
No, we are providing hookups, correct? So everyone will bring their washer and dryer.
Okay, okay. I think everybody. Okay, one special. Okay. Okay, the signal. You were talking about the signal. I guess that's coming from Palm Beach County. Ms. Savage, for the signal, because I keep hearing everyone say it's going to be very, and it will be, with all the apartments down there. How do you work that out, getting a signal here?
Well, right now, the traffic volumes do not trigger a signal. But in the future, as there's our desire, our vision for the area, which is redevelopment, comes into play, there likely will be more traffic. And the traffic engineers are here, they can break it down technically, but it has to do with volumes, traffic volumes that pass by the site. So right now, we don't think that and the county agrees that a signal is not required, but on the parcel to the north, if that redevelops with a high-density multifamily housing, all of a sudden the number of trips in and out go up dramatically. And how does the traffic get across Broadway during rush hour? And you have people trying to get off of Broadway. You have people coming south wanting to take a left into those sites. And it's at that point that we feel that a signal will be indicated. And that's why we brought it up now, because the medians may have to be shifted and adjusted to try to do some access control and to really get the driver's behavior to go to the signal and go in and out of the site. That's where the right turn in came in. We said, okay, well, when a signal comes, your people will go right turn in, but if they want to come out and take a left, there could be so much traffic it won't be safe to try to take a left across Broadway to continue south. You would require a signal. So the signal will come into play when the county determines it's required based on their review of future development. But when that happens, we've already had the foresight to figure out how it would work without having a negative impact on their project or the other one.
I asked because I live right into the enclave of Rivovich. And on 20th Street, I think it's 22nd Street, they had a light put up there. And it's kind of hard for residents, which is in that area, to come out of their house and go around this little enclave, make a right to get to that signal. And the traffic is horrendous around 5 o'clock. I don't travel around that up, but I am concerned that they will need a traffic light there.
They likely will in the future. Right now, this project did not meet the level that would have required a signal. We did evaluate it, but that's again why we made provisions for in the future, because we anticipate the next project will, meet that demand in combination with this project. So we're trying to be proactive. We want the people that live there as well as the people driving by to be safe.
Homeland Security is right there too, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So if there's a attack or whatever and people trying to get out of there, I think it's going to be horrendous for them to get out of there. So that's why I was so concerned when I went over and looked at that property, because I have family right there, and I was wondering how would they get out, because you have the Lake Park Marina, then you have all these other condominiums. And I just thought it warranted a light, but my opinion. The other thing I want to ask is fire, police, all of them, did they sign off on this?
Staff has all signed off on the project, and we do have conditions for you as well. Police did not have any concerns with the project, and fire's concerns, as you saw in the packet, are really building permit related concerns. So they provided their comments, which are a list of requirements for the applicant as to how to meet the code when they develop. The applicant, of course, agreed to all of those. So there's no outstanding public safety issues.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I do approve of this project. I think I heard the gentleman say that it would kind of, them impede upon their living. But I think that this project on Broadway will send a message that we're moving forward. And I appreciate you all coming to the city, because I don't approve of everything. But this particular project, as I was reading through it, I found out that this will be a call for people to understand that we're moving forward. This is going to be really a stepping stone for the city. of Riviera Beach. So if nothing else, I do thank you all for choosing Riviera Beach. You didn't have to come here, but you did. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ma'am?
Thank you, Mr. Shepard. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Gallo?
No questions.
Mr. Brown?
No additional questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay. How you doing, sir? Again, great presentation and great questions from my colleagues. I have a couple questions. Again, have the same sentiments as Mrs. Shepard. Thank you for coming to our community and giving us opportunity. At this point, we have a very good city manager who's looking forward to growing our city. I'm born and raised here in this city, and it seems at some point it was very, very stagnant, and now we're getting an opportunity to be able to grow and become better. So again, thank you for coming in. But one thing we want to do also, we want to make sure we have, from what I was told before, is smart growth, and I think this would be smart growth, building up Broadway, because that's one of our major corridors, and it needs to look nice and have nice buildings and businesses on that corridor. So I definitely agree with that. But we had a person come up, Mr. Ed Glattmeyer. I think I apologize if I'm pronouncing his name wrong, but he had some very good questions and concerns, and which I do understand, because we call this affordable housing. And I really don't like the name of affordable housing, because as looking at some of the rent payments was very, very low. And I was thinking that to be on Broadway and to be on this prime property, that it would be a little more expensive. And like you said, again, you want to make sure you have the best clientele. You want to have the best people. You want to have the best businesses being attracted to the city of Rivera Beach also. So you want to make sure that we're not bringing in low-income housing, but bringing in something affordable so people can want to come in and work and grow the city. So that's the correct intention that you guys have?
Yes, sir. So, I mean, your point's well taken. So is Mr. Glassfire's. We fully understand his point. There is such a demand for these income levels being 30, 60, and 80% performing a mix of incomes, that we suspect our client will have no problem filling them with residents and people that will all, and also making it and keeping it in what the city sees as its redevelopment area, this kind of new shiny thing on the corner to help begin the anchor in the transformation, as Mr. Glasser indicated. This is a transformation project, and it's the first step of many to come, I hope.
Right. So I got a couple more questions also. Again, as Mrs. Shepard brought to the table, the 1.5 parking spaces. Some of the apartments were, you had said 26 one-bedroom, 61 two-bedrooms, and 23 three-bedrooms?
Yes, sir. Now,
especially for the ones with the 3 bedrooms, I'm more likely more than one person is going to have a car. So is that point that their car has to park down at the guest, or will you have the visitor parking, or will they be able to park together?
So the overall parking spots are open to everyone.
Right.
So one thing you learn, in these type of communities, and frankly in all apartment communities, you realize at the peak hour parking, when is everybody there? When are the most cars there? It's midnight. It's midnight. Sorry for my engineer, but it's when everybody's in bed is when those peak hour cars are there. So during the day, people come and go, so you don't see a parking challenge at that time.
Correct. So 1.5 you think would be suffice?
Yes, sir. In fact, I can give some examples.
Thank you, sir. Jamie Crowley again. So we actually did a parking study for this particular development, because your code actually encourages less than what we originally were going to propose. So we did a parking study to justify that number, both for your staff and for our clients. Our clients have a lot of experience doing these sorts of developments, and they've been successful everywhere they've done it. And this is kind of the sweet spot of what they usually provide for these sorts of developments. It's a little bit on the low side, because that's kind of what's baked into your code. Right. Again, because this is your vision for this part of town is a mixed-use project. But yes, they did a parking study, which we provided to staff. Your staff accepted it, and they've got a lot of experience. And I don't know if Ms. Yeah, and we're also putting in the Palm Tran, the bus. So it's kind of a multimodal sort of forward thinking from a transportation perspective.
Got it. Next question. We also talked about the washer dryer hookup,
yes,
correct? Now I was thinking, that for you, for the nice apartments that you guys are gonna be building on Broadway, and that they would come with a washer and dryer. And why would that be the case that they would have to provide that? Because that's gonna cause, especially for a second floor, that's gonna be a maintenance issue far as moving it back and forth. And why wouldn't they come and then just charge the adequate price for that?
You know, that is actually, we do provide the washers and dryers. And so there isn't, people are not moving their own washers and dryers. They will be provided there, and then there's a nominal fee if they want to use them or not, or if they want to use other communal laundry.
So you will have a communal on site?
We're not planning one on site. So the fee is very small for the washers and dryers.
Right.
Water is also included in the rent, so we pay for the residents' water utility bills as well.
Okay.
So.
Now, for your business area, you say you have like a small library area, and you will be providing free Wi-Fi for the people in that area, for the personnel in that area?
The answer is yes, and
Or will it just be out throughout the whole entire?
Yeah, throughout all the common areas of the building. So, you know, we have the community learning center, we have some community gathering rooms, that we also open two different community groups from outside of the apartment community. We make them available for as meeting space for events such as this.
Right. So question is, do we have any pictures of those community areas so we can see what they look like?
Yeah,
as far as
they were in the
office area?
presentation.
I mean, the internal spaces?
Yes.
Or the external?
Yes. Just to see how it's made up. If it was, would there be computers provided, like 2 or 3 computers for?
Yes. And this is, of course, you know, we will have a large number of families living here, so that is why you'll see part of resident services. We do have programs catered toward families, toward children. That's one of our standard fitness centers there. I think there was one or two pictures on there, Ken, with, or back on the window. Yeah. Here you go. So there you'll see kind of in the upper left-hand corner there is a large community gathering room. We've got a computer learning center there on the right, another fitness workout room there on the bottom right, pool area there. You know, on our outside, we pride ourselves in building Class A communities. So even though it's mixed income, this is a fully amenitized apartment community here. We've got outside play area, tot lots as we call it. We've got a beautiful outdoor pool area, fitness center, like I said, different amenities inside. For plenty more imagery too on our websites with more properties, and it was included in the prior presentation to the CRA, obviously, as well.
So that's another development. So you're saying that this development will mirror that?
It'll be very, in terms of the finishes, you know, obviously the geometry is always different depending on the buildings, but very similar to what you see there. Yes, those are existing communities of ours, affordable communities.
One more question, sir. The educational programs that you will be providing for your tenants, and I saw that was a great list of what you have there. When will those educational programs be provided for the residents?
When will they provide?
Yeah, when? Like, for example, like what time frames, or will you have them every year, every 3 months, every 2 months? How do you have those programs?
It's constantly. I mean, it's
ongoing.
Yeah, every property management team at every property of ours they create specialized programs for that particular community, and they work with the residents to see what the needs are. So it's all tailor-made to what the community, the residents particularly need.
One thing to what Moedi said, Mr. Nukimbe, excuse me, from what he said was about the electric cars. Mm-hmm. Is that something also, staff, that we can probably get put in with the probability of being able to have that, because again, at some point in time, like I said, living especially in that area, more than likely someone's gonna come through that's gonna have a, electric car, and it would be a possibility for them to make adjustments to be able to put one in just for the convenience of that resident?
Yes, that's a great question. So in the future, the applicant can certainly come in to install electric charging stations, and we would handle that with a building permit. That would not be an issue for us, if the board would be satisfied with that.
Absolutely. That concludes my questions. Board, is it, yes,
One
ma'am.
more question. To the gentleman talking about the washer and dryers. Now, you said it's going to be a minimum fee. What is the minimum fee?
It's usually like $25.
You know, I'm involved in something right now with complaints coming from another building with the seniors. They were paying $50 a month, and, I mean, that adds up. That really adds up. And they were asking, why can't they have their own put in there? Is there a problem if you could kind of work with a program? Because some of them say, well, Ms. Shepherd, I don't wash every day. I don't need to dry every day. But it's there, and they have to pay for it, and I think they have to pay for their electricity, and it's becoming a burden on them. Any suggestions?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we don't, one of the things we pride ourselves on are not adding a lot of fees. That's really the only one, just because of what the cost for, and the reason is because usually residents say, I don't want to, I don't have my own washer and dryer, I'm not bringing my own washer and dryer. And the reason is because of what the escalation of appliances, the price escalation of appliances, it's become so cost prohibitive for residents to go out and buy appliances there, if you can even get them nowadays. And so when you look at the, you know, that fee on a monthly basis, when you add that up, is still a lot cheaper than trying to go out and finance or pay cash for a washer and dryer and maintain it over a multi-year period or just a one-year period. I mean, these are annual leases. So, you know, that's really the only fee that we charge. A lot of other property owners now, not just affordable housing, but all, whether it be market rate, mixed income, whatever, they're charging for everything from parking to, you name it, there's every kind of fee. And that's really the only one that we have. It is the only one that we have. And it's really just a necessity to be able to maintain them. And obviously to make sure that the appliances that they are good appliances, they're in working order. And it really just comes out of the fact of what the prices of these appliances have done over the last couple of years.
One more question that come into my head. Does your rent increase, or does it stay the same?
So rent fluctuates with whatever the incomes do, and that's all determined by HUD every year. So whatever the median income does, if it goes up a little bit, the rents will go up or down with median incomes. That is all set by HUD. We are limited to those rents. So that is something that it's nothing arbitrary. It's nothing that we have control over. So yes, but they do fluctuate. They'll go up or down.
Okay. One more thing, just thinking outside the box. If the parking, going back to the parking now, suppose if it's a party, a birthday party, the parking, where would the guests park? Will there be enough parking for them? Will they be able to use the clubhouse? How does that work?
It is open parking. It's not reserved. It's not policed in any way. So yes, and based on the engineering, our engineering studies and our design specialists, this is standard best practice in terms of the ratio that we've come up with, not just for the nighttime when everyone's there asleep and you've got full capacity, but during daytime when you've got parties, when you've got guests visiting, that ratio is an optimal ratio that takes all of that into account, a full 24-hour period and traffic coming and going.
I asked because I'm single and I live in my house, and I got a lot of grandchildren, and cars are everywhere.
Yeah.
And I just thinking going into this building, when someone gets sick, of course we're going to see them. A funeral, you know we're going to fill it up. I don't know, I just don't see the parking being sufficient. That's
No,
just,
I think this is based on experience. This is not, of all our consultants.
okay,
This is
okay.
separate if I can try to answer. If
Yeah, 'cause
hard to build a church for Easter Sunday, right? So, but the answer is at 1.5, we've seen this consistent through all communities. Historically, there used to be significantly more parking for apartment complexes. I can tell you through all of South Florida, and I've personally been involved in probably 15 different apartment sites in the last couple of years, that the ratios have come down dramatically. You know, one of the things that's hard for me to accept is my son doesn't want to learn how to drive. That's a completely different world than when I grew up and I wanted to drive. So the world is changing. You're seeing more people use Uber as their main form of transportation. So we've seen this being a consistent parking ratio that just not in Rivera Beach, it's in West Palm Beach, it's even in Palm Beach Gardens, who has a lot of cars. So we've seen this pretty consistent, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Sure, I have one more question when you're done. For the gentleman who provided the share, I think you keep meticulous notes on the 25% ratio and you try to, the hiring local. Can you share that information with this project, with our staff, so we can more or less gauge what you brought to our Riviera Beach residents? Would it be possible?
So you're asking me to report back on what we actually do? Is that what you're asking?
Yes. In other words, if you're saying you're going to have 40 jobs available to Riviera Beach residents and some apprenticeships, okay, in addition to local contractors being hired, it would be nice for staff to see that so that the board can ask them, hey, Project X that was approved last year, they said A, B, C, and D. Do you have the documentation from them so we can just gauge what you're doing, what you're bringing into the community?
Sure. Yeah.
Ms. Dunham?
I don't mean to interrupt the gentleman answering. We do have a standard condition that we normally place on projects like that, and that's what the board may be referencing. Staff didn't recommend that standard condition on this project because they're coming in already saying and agreeing to do above and beyond what we typically require. If the applicant is willing to provide some of their data to staff, our standard condition is normally 6 months post-CO. So that I would recommend, if there's an agreement to provide any kind of metrics to us, it would be at 6 months post-certificate of occupancy.
Would that be okay?
That's fine. I just want to add one clarification also that, you know, when we hire subcontractors and they have employees, we don't ask them to lay off the employees to make room for
No,
new
of course
employees, right? So we ask them to fill openings with local people. This is what we ask them to do. Okay.
Thank you.
Chair.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Again, welcome to the city. We appreciate you all.
Yes.
What will, excuse me, sir.
Oh, no, more questions, more questions, more questions.
I thought I was sliding out here, sir.
Yeah, I saw you trying to.
Yes, sir.
What will be the process for you all to find out the people that will be living there? What will be your process of?
I'm going to ask Kevin to address that, but it is a first come, first served basis that meet the criteria.
So yes, obviously, the main requirement are the income qualifications. We always start pre-leasing about 3 months before we finish construction. We'll have our property management team who are typically locally hired. We always try to hire a property manager from within the local community. We'll start pre-leasing a few months before we finish construction, and so it is first come, first serve. But we have a number of modes of outreach as well. We have a great relationship with the Department of Veterans Affairs. We know, obviously, we've got a large veterans hospital here in Riviera Beach. Every one of our communities, we have a number of veterans, and so because of that relationship with the VA, so in this community, obviously, it's not income restricted. So we work with the local housing authorities on residents who are looking for housing, who income qualify. different senior organizations. So everything we can do to identify residents who are looking for affordable housing, who can fit the income qualifications.
Will you all be doing anything with the school district?
Yes.
Doing any type of advertising?
Yes, we typically do. Our property management group always works with the local school district. So, yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
And one more question for staff. Question for staff. Board, if I'm correct, we have a new facility that's just opened up, I guess, just south of McDonald's on Blue Heron. That new housing.
Rivera Beach Cove.
Rivera Beach Cove. Now, with this project coming in, and with Rivera Beach Cove on the rise right now, dealing with traffic, was that implemented into the study, knowing that when that becomes, when they come finished with that project, that it's going to add additional traffic, especially when this project comes in?
That is an excellent question. So this area is the traffic concurrency exclusion area, and so levels of service were not evaluated. This is part of the comprehensive plan. So it would be the traffic volumes that we would be looking at, and Riviera Cove was not deemed to create an impact for this project.
Now, what I'm looking at is, from my standpoint, is that, and I actually love this problem because I'd rather have the crowd, I'd rather have the people, I'd rather have the city moving, I'd rather have it looking like it's a business. So, but I want to make sure that we don't have any kind of issues, as far as traffic, for safety, and make sure traffic flows through pretty good. Because my second job is a job that I travel a lot also, and I want to make sure that we, it's still conducive. But like I say again, I would love to have the traffic, there for the city because I want it to be busy. But is that something that
Sir, do you mind if I address some of that concern?
Say again?
May I address some of your concerns?
Absolutely.
So, as she mentioned, this is a transportation concurrency exemption area. So, the way that the state measures traffic volumes is a system called concurrency. And usually they just count the cars and they measure the impact and they want you to build more roads. That's what they've done all along, right? So, in order to encourage development in specific areas, such as your CRA, you're allowed to adopt a transportation concurrency exemption area. And what that does is it encourages people to come into the core of a downtown. So you're locating all of the traffic near existing facilities and services, and you're not building sprawl. And so the county has determined, both in the county comprehensive plan and in the city of Riviera Beach comprehensive plan, that this is the spot where you want to locate this kind of development. So all other development that's coming forward, it's assumed that this number of trips is baked into your comprehensive plan, and a certain number of units are baked into your comprehensive plan for this area. And so to get that plan amendment done, you had to go through your process as well as the county's process. And we did submit a traffic study, and we showed what our peak hour trips would be, total trips would be. We provided that to the county. The county reviewed it. We're not required to get a standard letter like a normal development would that's outside of this area where they review it and they say yes or no. It's assumed that this development is already baked into your plan because that number of units was contemplated at the time the county approved your comprehensive plan. So it's all been looked at by people that do this all the time.
Got it.
And it's way above my head, but that's the best I can summarize it.
Thank you, sir. And staff, one other question now. With that being said, what he just said with his comprehensive study, my question is, given the Broadway, the wideness of Broadway, is it a possibility that we can start maybe construction on maybe expanding now and getting ahead of this before it becomes a problem later on and then trying to adjust to it then? Because we know we're going to have the traffic, and the way the city, Rivera Beach, is going right now, we know we're going to have the traffic coming in.
That sounds so sensible.
County
But it
don't
doesn't
work that
typically
Doesn't
work that way.
Doesn't work that way.
County road.
I mean, we're talking about state roads, and,
County
there's
road.
specific data points that trigger roadway expansions. The applicant, as they mentioned, is dedicating additional right-of-way, thinking towards a future roadway expansion.
Right.
But we're not quite there yet. We're just getting the puzzle pieces put into place. I assure you, the city engineer, I mean, he's paying very close attention to this, and every time a project comes in, this is one of the things that we do evaluate. So I appreciate you, and I think we're getting closer to that point, but would we and/or the state proactively do something?
Probably not.
Not right now, probably.
Okay. Is there any more questions for the board? I know we asked a bunch of questions, but we want to make sure that the people in the city and the people in the county, and of course for the board, asking questions, especially for the people at home, to be able to answer their questions also. And we thank you guys for coming in and answering the questions for us. Board, do we have any other questions?
Just one more question
Yes,
about the
ma'am.
process. Please forgive me as you talk, it's coming to my head. To get an apartment there, affordable housing, do you all go through a process of trying to do a background check on the people that come in? When I first took my apartment, I had to go to PBA and be fingerprinted and a picture, and I was a poor little old lady, but.
One thing, Mr. Shepherd, you always ask the good questions. You said you were tough, so I'm going to let Kevin answer that one.
Yes, absolutely. There's standard checks, for standard background checks for criminal activity, and making sure that, and a standard financial background check too, but with a little more, not as restrictive, obviously, based because of the income demographics. But yes, we do full checks on everybody, so that we know who's to be sure who we're not letting in, so to speak.
What would be your disclaimer for criminal?
It's a standard violent crime, certain kinds of drug felonies, and so forth.
Got it.
We just want a safe, that's all.
Absolutely.
Safe community, a safe city.
Sure, and that's our responsibility too, not just to the city, but to the rest of the residents who live there.
All right, board, do we have any more questions?
More questions?
All right, how do we proceed?
Go.
If I may, Mr. Chair, just clarify for staff, did the board want to add a condition stating that the applicant shall provide data on the MBWE program to staff at 6 months post-certificate of occupancy?
Yes.
Okay, so for the record, that would be a supplemental condition.
That is correct.
Okay.
That would make 2 supplemental conditions, right?
For the first one.
Right.
Correct. We have the previously discussed condition.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So we can go ahead and go for a motion.
Motion to approve with the 2 supplemental conditions?
I second that.
You want to read into the record application ZA 21-02, Platt PA 2101, and site plan SP 21-04, along with the 2 additions? The 2 conditions, Ms. Durham?
I would say with the conditions on the site plan as presented and amended here.
So be it.
So we set a motion to approve the application ZA 2102 of Berkeley Landing, requesting a zoning map amendment from the DR Downtown Resident District designation to a DG Downtown General District.
Did all 3. He already did all 3.
Got it.
I second it.
Okay.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Margaret Shepherd,
Yes.
Frank Fernandez,
Yes.
Moiti Nubi,
Yes.
Russell Barnes,
Yes.
William Wiley.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. I
Yes,
hate
sir.
to be a problem, but I think that because we have 3 separate agenda items, it might be better if we have a vote on each one of the items.
That's why I was reading the first one. That's why I was reading the first. I was going to read all 3 separately
Yes, sir.
and vote
Okay,
on.
thank you very much.
Got it. So would you like me to go ahead and just read each one and then we'll get separate? Okay. The first one, we recommend the approval of the ordinance of the City Council for the City of Rivera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving the application ZA 2102 from Berkeley Landing Limited, requesting a zoning map amendment from the DR Downtown Residential District designation to a DG Downtown General District.
So moved.
Mr. Chair, so the first motion, was it for this item?
The first motion was for that because I figured they would want us to do each one of them
Okay,
separately.
and so now you read it again, but we've already had the motion, so would you like to read the
The second one.
second one?
Got it, because I didn't hear it in 1 second of what I did first time. My bad, sorry about that, sorry. All right, second one.
Okay.
All right, recommend approval of the resolution of the City Council of the City of Rivera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving plat application PA 2101 from Berkeley Landing Limited to combine two contiguous lots to record into one lot.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Barnes, second.
Thank you. Margaret Shepherd,
Yes.
Frank Fernandez,
Yes.
Moeti Nubi,
Yes.
Russell Barnes,
Yes.
William Wiley.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
And third, we recommend approval for the site plan application SP 2104 for Berkeley Landing Limited to construct two 3-story residential affordable housing apartment buildings, including live work units with associated parking, landscaping, and amenities on approximately 4 acres of land.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Mr. Barnes, second.
No, I moved it. Somebody else needs to say.
I'll second.
Speaking to the mic, we can't hear down here.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Mr. Nubi, thank you. Margaret Shepherd,
Yes.
Frank Fernandez,
Yes.
Moeti Nubi,
Yes.
Russell Barnes,
Yes.
William Wiley.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Congratulations.
Work.
That was the whole party.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Good night.
Walter, could I have the next presentation, please?
Oh, that's deep, everybody.
Should have done this one first, that way we had a bigger audience.
Yeah, no, right. Forcing this thing. Yeah, they gonna sweat.
So we're
Ready?
looking here for number 9, workshop items. We have none.
No, sir, we still have, we have one last item, really quick, item D.
Okay.
Okay, and it's a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, establishing the City of Riviera Beach Art in Public Places program and providing for the development of Art in Public Places master plan to guide the implementation of the AIPP program and providing for an effective date. And so the City Council previously provided a directive to city staff to further research the elements required to implement a successful AIPP, Arts in Public Places program. And you all, I'm sure, know more than I do, this conversation is not a new one in the city of Riviera Beach. It has come up at several times, and for various reasons not advanced. And so at this point, we're back before you. We're very excited about it. We did provide in your backup material this, and the purpose of this chart is to just really illustrate to the board that we've done some homework. Staff, even my predecessors, had done a lot of this work to take a look around and see what other cities are doing. There's wonderful examples of art in public places throughout Florida. We don't have to leave the state. Fort Pierce, Port St. Lucie, Boca, West Palm. And so why not Riviera Beach? So as we researched what other communities were doing, mindful of the fact that the city leaders wanted us to bring something forward, we noticed that all of these different programs had commonalities. There were Arts and Public Places Master Plan. There was a program facilitator. It might just be not just, but it might be a staff member, or sometimes it's a citizen. But there was somebody who was in charge of paying attention to it and facilitating the plan so that it became implemented. Typically, there's an art advisory board, and that's another citizen board, such as yourself, who dedicates their time to the implementation, and generally a reliable funding source. So at this point in time, our recommendation is that the first step would be to ask the City Council to establish an AIPP program. Once that program is established, the next step would be to create a master plan. Now, an AIPP master plan, we envision it would be created utilizing public input, and it would provide program scope and guidance. And all new public and private projects would be reviewed for consistency with the master plan. And without a master plan, an Arts and Public Places program may have unmet objectives and lack clear vision. Part of the master plan, I think one of the most important parts, is the community meetings and the visioning. Because what is art in public places? Is it the sculpture that you see when you get off of the highway? Or is it the city leaders taking a position that every new city building that's built needs to have some area for exhibition or display space so that the different schools can rotate through art exhibits? Is art in public places performance art at the beach? Is it a special program with vendors coming and selling art products? What is art in public places? And it's a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It could be art in the park. It could be, a musical program. So the master plan and the visioning and the community conversation that goes with it, I think will be critical to hearing from Riviera Beach what types of things does Riviera Beach want? Do you want murals on your buildings? Do you want the electric transformers to be wrapped? Right? So art in public places, it's not this just rigid thing, we're going to put a sculpture here. It can be really as broad or as narrow as the city wants it to be. And we're suggesting that that is a good place to start with a community conversation. So as I just said, the first step for the city of Riviera Beach, in our opinion, is to provide for the creation of an AIPP master plan. The master plan would then speak to the creation of an advisory board, possible staffing needs or options, and funding sources to sustain the program, as well as visioning. Funding sources can always be a challenging conversation. There's grant funds out there. Some communities require, I live in Port St. Lucie. Port St. Lucie requires every major developer to donate 1.5% of their project cost, up to $100,000, towards a pot of funds for arts and public places. And of course, they have a lot of mega development going on, so that's a drop in the bucket. And I'm not suggesting that's the way we go here, but that is a funding source. You can also set up a voluntary contribution program. Just as we have the civic open space, we could ask developers to incorporate artwork into their project. But all of that would be vetted and finalized through the master plan development process with this board and the public. So before you tonight, and we hope that you will support it, is a draft resolution. It provides for the creation of an AIPP program, as well as the development of an AIPP master plan. So it's a resolution 110-21, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, establishing the City of Riviera Beach Art and Public Places program and providing for the development of an Art and Public Places master plan to guide the implementation of the AIPP program and providing for an effective date. So again, with this resolution, if you support it, we will be asking the City Council to make a finding that the City of Riviera Beach will benefit from the creation of an Art in Public Places program. Further, create the City of Riviera Beach Art in Public Places program with the goal of encouraging installations of high-quality public art throughout the city for the benefit of its residents and its visitors. To direct the Development Services Department to lead in the development of the city's Art in Public Places Master Plan, using methods including facilitated group processes, a committee task force of art experts and professionals, and engaging members of the Riviera Beach community. And finally, to direct the Development Services Department to prepare an ordinance that will create an incentive program to allow medium to large scale land development projects to participate in the city's Art in Public Places program. I know that it's very broad. That's because the plan and the visioning hasn't been drafted yet. We don't want to presuppose what the city wants, but we're here and we hope that we get to walk through this conversation with the city. And I think that it would just be another layer of richness to the community. You know, arts and public places can be very vibrant, and it could be another lovely addition to what you already have in place. So we thank you for your consideration of this exciting opportunity. We hope that it advances, and I'm here to answer any questions, and Mr. Sermons as well.
I have a question, Frank Fernandez. Real quick, I read through the ordinance in the back of the provided booklet here for us, and you got a $250,000 for the fees imposed on developments, 1%, but there's no cap on it. And wouldn't it be favorable to do it like Port St. Lucie, 1.5%, and cap it at 100,000?
So that ordinance that's in the back is not what we're proposing now.
No.
I put that in there as backup for you,
Okay.
so you can see that this conversation has been going on for quite a while.
Right.
And so we saw that ordinance, I read it. I don't necessarily concur with all of the recommendations. So what I'm saying to you is that proves to us that there's an interest, and we've talked about it. Now let's take a step back and develop a plan, and we would probably draft a new ordinance that might fit the city a little better. So that ordinance, again, in your packet is not what I'm proposing. It's just evidence that this conversation has been going on for a while.
So you're just proposing for us to approve a generalized art in
I'm
public
asking,
places?
correct, you are 100%. I'm asking you to approve a resolution. We want to approach the city council and ask them to establish the program and then to turn around and direct us to work on developing a master plan. And so it's a very broad directive. At such point as the master plan is drafted, we would then come back to you to say, okay, here's the nuts and bolts of it. And then, to your point, we can tinker with the ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask you a question, please? This program, I don't know how the rest of the board feels. I thought this was an excellent idea. So why would this have taken, how long has this been on the table and kind of pushed aside?
Well, the conversation has been going on for years, longer than I've been here.
Right.
So it's, was before them. There was a first reading of that ordinance. It was tabled. At this point, I'm not sure all the language in that ordinance is perhaps the way you might want to go now. So I'm suggesting we reconsider it. Okay. I can't speak to why it was all tabled. Perhaps perhaps it was too ambitious. Sometimes you have to start slow and say, let's create the program, let's talk about it, let's see what fits, right, and then come forward with the ordinance. And so that's, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. I'm saying, let us take the first bite.
So I remember seeing this in the Fort Pierce areas. They're visiting my college friend, and I noticed that everywhere in the city, I think she said about the electrical units, they were actually painting them and making them, depending on what the location was or what the area was, and they kind of made something to where it was a design for that neighborhood and everything. And I thought it was a beautiful thing, and I was thinking the same thing at that time, because it was about 6 months ago. We should have something like that. And I see that this program has been here for quite some time. And again, I think this would be something that we would strongly consider to get done, so we can get the same thing done here in our city also. Yes, sir.
If I may, for the record, Clarence Sermons, Director of Development Services. I just wanted to provide some additional background to your previous question about how long we've been in this conversation and it going on. The ordinance in your packet, of course, predates existing staff. However, shortly after I joined the city, almost a year and a half ago, this was an initiative that was requested to be brought before City Council by council members. And to this date, we've had approximately 3 discussion and deliberation items before City Council to discuss what a program such as this could look like or would look like for the city of Riviera Beach. This particular time, after a recommendation by this body, of course, when it goes before City Council, this time we will have a resolution that, as Ms. Savage described, will outline how this department will guide the creation of a Arts and Public Places program, the advisory group that would be created, creation of a master plan, and the development of a ordinance that would be a long-standing governing rule or law of the city, and how the program would operate and how developers could participate in the program. But again, this is a very important initiative by City Council, and this is likely about the 4th time in the last year that it would appear before them, but this time it's in the form of a resolution that would give marching orders to how the program would be created.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
You said council is asking for this?
Yes, it is an important initiative of more than one council member.
Okay. Because this has come before me, I know, about 8-9 years ago when I first got on the board. I think Mary McKinney was the director then. We had a full council, and when it went before City Council, they shot it down. That's not the first time. The second time it came again, shot it down. And I think now, I know my memory is kind of, but I thought I heard Mr. Evans said, somebody said, I can't remember, said that they did not want this program to go forward because they felt like the monies that is spent on this project should be going to revitalizing the city. I think it's a great idea. I like it. I go to Palm Beach County, PB, what is it? PB, what is that thing going over to the mall at Bridge?
Palm Beach Gardens flyover bridge?
Yes. Anyway, they got beautiful art. I didn't know what it was until they sent me over to look at it. And I think, just me thinking, I think they should kind of get fundraisers in place to raise this money, because as we're going to revitalize the city, I think I heard Mr. Evans say we need all the money we can get to start our projects. So I'm not against it, but I am thinking that if you get a group together, they should think toward fundraisers to raise this money. But right now, for the city to spend out this type of money, I'm really not for it. And like I said, I think this is my 3rd or 4th time hearing it, and every time it's shot down because money comes into play. But I don't think we have a real tunnel vision of how this money, or where this money is coming from. And that's my only suggestion, is fundraisers.
Right, and I agree with her wholeheartedly on that. And the thing is, with beautifying the city, absolutely, I'm definitely going to be on the side of that. Again, since money is our issue, I think we need to prioritize our problems, prioritize our issues. And the main thing that we need to get done right now is the water, and to make sure that the water is clean for our residents, and get that project taken care of, and then start on the beautification project, because we want to make sure that our community is healthy, right? And make sure that you know, we're here to be able to enjoy the city, but we want to take care of our main things first. So I think the water situation should be first. But again, this project, I'm definitely for it. But if we have the money and we can prioritize this money or get someone to donate or be able to recruit people to be able to donate for this, absolutely. But the main thing we need to get done first is make sure we get clean water for our residents.
Yes, and if I may respond, a big part of embarking on this journey, if approved by City Council, is exploring the different options for funding for it. So this resolution in itself does not commit the city to long-term expenditures in the way of an art and public places program that would come later. It would allow staff to engage local professionals, persons with experience in these types of programs to cultivate a program that makes sense for the city, but it does not commit the city to any long-term expenditures toward art and public places.
It'd definitely be nice to get some of our kids from the high schools and from the middle schools to be able to help contribute to that, just so they can have this city to be a part of their own. So I think that's a great idea.
Yes, absolutely.
Any other questions?
Just a comment. This would be something that I would like to have seen the survey template been used for. You know, where if we have a project like this, it's like, okay, well let's put that on this survey, and when a developer goes out and we ask them, hey, ask the residents what do they think about the project. So, but yeah, projects like this, obviously it looks good to me, but I would like to have input from the residents, and this is, where if we have developers that are, coming in the city, then they can really do the work for us to really gauge the temperature in the community. And I'm not sure what's going on with the template, but I definitely would like to, see that being used so that we can actually get a little bit more feedback from the community.
Any other questions? All right, would we like to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Gallen?
Yes.
Ms. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Wiley?
Yes.
Mr. Fernandez?
Yes.
Mr. Newby?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
All right, so on to workshop items. We have none, correct? All right, the general discussion, no public comments. Correspondence?
I have none.
Planning and zoning, board comments, upcoming P&Z board meetings, October 14th and 28th, 2021.
Yes, yes, sir. I expect October 14th, we're going to do another planning and zoning board training session, so it will be a break from the applications, and then the 28th we'll have applications back on for you, unless something comes up very pressing that we have to put on.
Are there any comments from the board? Is it okay to adjourn?
Yes, sir. Board discretion.
Second.
Right.
Thank you.
14th and 28th, about